So now that the example scene has loaded up, let's talk about navigation. So navigation means how you actually fly around the 3D environment. And one of the reasons I wanted to use a sample project is so you actually understand the speed of how fast you're moving with your camera. So what I mean by that is if you hold down W, we'll move forward, right? And this is about a slow standard pace, right? This is totally fine. This is a common speed we'll be working on. S is to go backwards, A is to the left, and D is to the right. If you've ever done any PC gaming, this should feel very familiar to you. If I hold down the right mouse button and I move my mouse to the right, it's like I'm moving my head to the right. If I do the same thing to the left, hold down the right mouse button and move to the left, I'm moving to the left. And your WASD keys will always follow the direction you're facing. So watch this. If I look straight up and I hit W, I'm going to start going up, right? If I look down, basically holding my right mouse button and dragging down, I'm going to start going down with my W key. So it's really a combination of WASD and the right mouse button to move around. Those are your basic movement techniques. There's also Q and E. So Q is going to raise your camera and E is going to lower your camera, right? This is useful so you don't have to like look up, then hold W. It's just going to automatically change your height. So I was talking about speed, right? So there's some buildings over here. If I were to go over there traditionally, I have to hold down W, right? But watch this. If I hold down W and then shift, look over here. Look at how much faster I'm moving, right? So that's shift off, shift on. I'm going to turn around. And now I want to get all the way to the other side. So I'm going to hold shift and then space. Look at that. See how I flew forward? And you notice as I'm looking around, what are these blue boxes? That's what I was talking about with the proxies before. This might be useful for you. You might find this annoying, but this generally makes it run a little bit easier on your computer. So if you hate the look of this, you can also go to settings and turn it off. But again, W shift is speed up, and then spacebar with that pressed down is all going to do like a super boost. If you just hold spacebar with W, I'm basically going to slow to a crawl, right? I let go of space and now I'm moving, regular speed, shift to pick it up, and then shift space to go really, really fast. Okay. It's going to take some getting used to, but I highly recommend spending like a minute or two just flying around so you're comfortable. If you forgot what I said, all these settings are going to be right here. WASD, those are your movement keys. Q and E are your height keys. And when I hold down the right mouse button, it's going to just give me those contextual keys, the WASD, Q and E. If I start moving forward, then it'll tell me about shift and space and all that. And the last one it does say is the scroll wheel. So what that's going to do is if I roll the scroll wheel up, it's going to kind of zoom in. And if I roll it back, it's going to zoom out. I generally don't use the scroll wheel too much. I'm more of a WASD user, but you have that as an option. But again, these are contextual keys. These will always pop up when you're doing something, okay? So I know I threw a lot at you. So spend a couple minutes just getting familiar flying around, kind of challenge yourself to get into specific areas. Like try and sit right here, right? Exactly. And the reason we want to get good at this is because we're going to be using this to set up our renderings, right? This is how you control the camera, right? You're not just a user floating in space, but this is also your render camera. So that's why it's super important to be able to get into, every nook and cranny of your project. That way it's easier to set up the camera. So before moving on, take a minute or two to continue. In the next video, we're going to talk about this tab right down here. This is the content library tab, and this is where we place assets.